Currently in the US, layoffs are booming. And there's so many companies involved, it's really hard to keep track of everything. Now, I know some of the main things that I've heard over the past couple of months are like Meta and Microsoft and GM, and now recently, as of this filming, Disney. And Disney is only reporting that they're laying off a couple hundred people, which I think even one person being laid off without any kind of warning and without any kind of performance issues is way too many people. But in the grand scheme of things, 100 or hundreds of people is not that big of a number compared to what we're dealing with, right? Like if there's a lot of illnesses and things going on of that nature and you just get a little bit of a cold, I guess it's not bad in consideration compared to everybody else. But what you don't hear on the surface level is that, well, Disney in 2023 laid off thousands of people. So what you see is sometimes there'll be thousands of people laid off, sometimes there'll be a couple of hundred, sometimes there'll be a branch or a certain region or a certain department. But if you look at one company over the course of like 5 years, you'll see that these numbers are adding up. It's just a matter of when you catch the news. So you might say, oh, well, it's only a couple of hundred people laid off, but then yes, thousands of people before. Or maybe it's thousands of people before and it's like, well, this came out of nowhere. But then if you do the research and look into it a little bit more, you're like, all right, well, they closed down this branch and then this branch and then a couple hundred people there. So they space it out as they need to, as they want to manipulate the stock prices, but it's just really rough. And that's only the big things that we might actually come across on the news or on LinkedIn or something like that. There's smaller companies and smaller regional businesses that are doing layoffs too. And it's really hard to keep up and it's really hard to figure out where you would be safe. I know we've always said that there is no such thing as job security, but sometimes you just kind of say it and you got to work hard. You can't just go into work and give your boss the middle finger. But if you do your job and you don't demand any more money and don't rock the boat too much, a lot of times throughout history, you'd be fine. But these days, you just don't know. And even if you're doing a good job, they could still lay you off and label you as an underperformer, someone with performance issues, even if you've had good remarks. And what are you supposed to do? Take your end of year reviews that you've had the past couple of years and attach it to your Workday account so you can show, oh, I actually got good marks. Because if they're looking at the news and looking at the headlines, they're just going to avoid someone from, Meta or from other places where people are being fired as low performers. Intuit, I think, was the other one that we saw over the past year. So it's just really rough to land a brand new job. There's a lot of things going on. And each and every day, at least each and every month, without hyperbole, there's thousands more people to compete with, thousands of more people in the job market. And yes, the news will tell you that hundreds of thousands of jobs are being created, and are hundreds of thousands of jobs being posted on LinkedIn, Indeed, etc.? Sure. But are thousands of people being hired, at least hundreds of thousands of people being hired? Absolutely not. But reality, thousands of people are being let go and the competition in the talent pool keeps increasing. But the opportunities for new jobs, opportunities to throw people a safety raft or a rescue boat are really, really being limited down. But let's share some stories of people who have been recently laid off and see what's going on with them. We start off with Chris, who says, sharing a personal update. Last week, I was impacted by the recent layoffs at Walmart. It's been an emotional time, not just because of uncertainty, but also because this time last year, I was at a major crossroads. Stay on the East Coast and continue exploring a new career path, or move back and rejoin a company and community I knew well. Chris continues, I ultimately chose to return, largely because of the culture and support I experienced during my first chapter at Walmart. In this short second chapter, and especially over the past week, the kindness and encouragement I received from colleagues, past and present, have reminded me exactly why I made that decision. I'm hopeful there's more to come in this journey with the company. But no matter what the future holds, I'm grateful for the people who've shown up for me and reaffirm that I'm not walking this path alone. If you're hiring, open to networking, or just want to connect, I'd love to hear from you. #layoffs. And man, these companies just don't care about you. They don't. They don't care if you had some sort of a medical issues, if you're coming off of maternity leave. They don't care if you moved across the country for a job. They just don't. You're just a number to these companies. You're just a salary. And if your salary adds up with the amount that they are trying to cut, they're going to do it. Now, yes, it would be much easier to fire one executive and save what? Realistically, hundreds of people with how much these executives are making, and then to lay off a bunch of people making maybe minimum wage or just barely a living income, but they're not going to do that. They're going to keep giving bonuses. Actually, you'll probably get an even bigger bonus if you're an executive and you find out a way to lower the cost to the organization. And the best way to do that is to have layoffs. And the sad reality is the person pulling the trigger, the person making the decision on you losing your livelihood, losing your career, and as we see, having to probably spend months and months, if not over a year, to try to find a brand new job, doesn't even know you. I mean, they're not even looking at your name. They don't know your first name. They don't know your last name. They see what your salary is. They see that it's a good piece of their puzzle of their goal of cutting their expenses, and that's it. So you could try to network. You could try to be a good employee. You could try to make your boss's life easier. If the company's making mistakes, which many, many companies are, and they're looking at the chopping block and seeing what they could do, you're just a number, you're just a salary, and you're gonzo. Especially if you maybe are just brand new or if you've been there too long. So if you're just brand new, like, all right, well, we survived without these people for all this time, so let's let them go. So anyone who's been here in the less than 3 months, even if it's a second trip around the sun, let's get rid of them. Or anyone who's been there over 20 years, we don't want to give them pension or we don't want to pay them because obviously they have a much higher salary. We can let go of them and find someone in America who will do the same role, even if it's not the same quality, for half the price. Or even better yet, let's outsource that to India and the Philippines and get it for an absolute fraction of a price. That's just what they're going to do. And it's not personal. It feels personal because it's your livelihood. It starts a downward spiral that could lead to a lot of terrible things happening, but it's not personal. They don't even know you. It's just business, baby. Next, David says, layoff log day 139. Layoffs suck. Most times they suck because we didn't see them coming. Looking back at my 11 and a half years at my last company, we didn't have many layoffs. The few that did happen seemed to be spontaneous. The one that I was included in, though, didn't seem as spontaneous. We had a new CEO step in, and a new president of our line of business being selected. 2 top executives leaving around the same time. Then I noticed that a significant number of senior leadership, director plus, started leaving. It seemed more than coincidental, but a change in leadership usually means structural and staffing changes. Then all of a sudden, boom, layoff. Looking back, it wasn't obvious, but there were signs. Let's take a pause there. If you are blessed enough to have a job, now is the time to start saving. And not necessarily for retirement, not necessarily for things 20, 30 years down the line, but for a potential layoff. And it doesn't really matter how long you've been at the company, though the longer you've been there, the more likely you are to be added to the layoff list because you're probably going to be demanding a higher salary. But in this market, you know, people say to have 6 months saving, but the reality is 6 months might not buy you enough time until your new job. You might want to have over a year, as much as possible. Keep saving up that cash fund. Make sure you're out of debt as much as possible and have a nice little security blanket because these times are very, very rough to land something brand new. And when you start seeing the writing on the wall, don't turn around. Go up to the wall and read that writing. Try to figure out exactly what's going on. If there's leadership changes, if there's new leadership, I mean, what do you think the leadership is there for? The leadership is there to help the company's stock price. And the way that you do that is by increasing the bottom line. So if you have brand new leadership, especially at the very top, they're going to do layoffs. That's just how it works. Companies can't figure out how to make more money because how could you make more money selling to people who don't have jobs? All they could do is lay off more people, add to the problem, and increase their bottom line. So if you don't have enough savings, if you don't have a year of savings right now, or if you don't even have 6 months savings, you see new leadership coming in, you see things being shuffled around, don't be too cocky. Don't feel like this place can't run without me. Don't feel like without me everything would fall apart. Will things get worse? Probably. Will things completely not work anymore? Maybe. But these companies don't care about quality anymore. They're just trying to stay afloat. They're just trying to keep their stock price as high as possible without investing any additional funds. So if you start seeing the writing on the wall, things are happening, new leaderships, now's the time to start putting away as much money as possible. Cancel a vacation if you have it, and you can get a full refund for it. Maybe hold off on the house repairs if you have a house, and just try to put as much money into savings as possible, just in case. It's not 100% guarantee that you're going to get laid off, but the likelihood is ever increasing the more changes they're making in the organization. But let's continue. Anyone else have those little things they notice? Stats of today. Roles applied for, 648. Roles rejected for, 265. Roles interviewed for, 15. Offers, 0. Today's kind words. Your soul and your mind is a muscle. Just like bodybuilding, you must endure struggle, fatigue, and even sometimes pain in order to grow. But just like your body, your mind and your soul will heal back stronger and more resilient than ever before. When you are in a tough season, you must realize that you're training. Yes, it is painful. Yes, it is a struggle. But when you come through it, you will look at the tough times that you come to and scoff. They are nothing compared to what you lived through. You are powerful and strong. You have endured and you will continue to endure. Thanks for reading, and thanks to those who still send me job listings and leads. I'm still looking, so I'm still appreciative. Until next time, #LayoffLog. And some good encouraging words there at the end. Next, Richard says, it's wild how quickly things can change. One moment you're building a function, strategizing on the year ahead, pushing through, and then in the course of a minute, your entire reality changes. I was recently laid off, and I've felt everything. Grief, relief, shame, hope, anger, fear, even a strange sense of freedom. Often all in the same day, sometimes all in the same hour. It's forced me to pause and ask, what do I really need right now? So far, the answer will be grace. Grace to feel it all. Grace to not rush into what's next before honoring the what just happened. Grace to sit with the discomfort and allow it to teach me something. Richard continues and says, that's looked like long walks around the city, journaling my favorite spot by the Hudson, making time for friends who remind me who I am, and choosing every day to take care of my mental fitness. If you're navigating a career transition, a loss, or just a hard moment, you're not alone. This stuff is tough. It can shake your identity, your routines, your confidence, but it also can be the opening to something better, more aligned and more grounded. No tidy, tiny bows here. I'm still very much in it, but I'm doing the work. And if you are too, I see you. Let's normalize talking about this. #mental health. And I don't know what value you get out of hearing someone say, I see you, but that seems to be the corporate jargon of LinkedIn these days. Let's continue with Sean, who says, tough day yesterday. Like 20% or more of my colleagues, I was laid off from the United Way of Greater Cleveland. The fundraising landscape has changed dramatically, and it caught up to all of us. Still, I'm walking away with determination. I got to lead smart, creative digital marketing that helps shape how this organization shows up online. We streamlined a complex website, grew executive presence on social, and told real human stories through video and content with purpose. Sean continues, what's next for me? I'm looking to bring everything I've built, brand strategy, storytelling, digital campaigns, team leadership, to an organization that is ready to thrive. Creative direction, UX, social content, project management, it's all in my wheelhouse. I don't just make things look good, I build systems, drive engagement, push for clarity, inspiration, and growth. If you know someone looking for a proven digital marketing creative leader who can help shape both the message and the method, I'd love to connect. Here's to what's next, #marketing. So people are being laid off from all different types of companies, unfortunately, in 2025. But let me know what you think about this down in the comments below. And if you have a few more minutes, YouTube thinks you'll really enjoy the video on the screen right now. Talk to you later.